Hello, my name is Angelcake. I'm a queer black dojo creator. I've been around the dojo since 2019, but I left around early 2025 because I realized the dojo has had its own issues with racism. I'd observed for a while, back in 2016, 2015. I thought the animators were really cool. I had proximity to some people in dojo and I respected them as animators, and I wanted to become part of a greater space. I joined dojo and met many people and made many, many friends. Two of my greatest friends that I've known for nearly 4 years now came from Dojo. We're all black, and despite that, we've all either left or no longer wish to be involved in the community. I've had a personal experience where I was friends with the user that said slurs outside the server on a frequent basis despite being an active community member. I was scared to speak up about the issue for the longest time because I thought that the moderation team would not take my issue seriously. I chose to go no contact with this person. After talking to people about what had happened, that person came back to try to confront me for ruining their chances at getting hired for VA work. Though I'm of the belief that a situation may have occurred later if they had made their way into an actual team. That may have gotten a project canceled or even ended up in something messier happening down the line. We ended up having a call. It was about an hour long, and I had confirmed new information along with evidence of that person admitting to their crimes. When I finally reached out, I provided this to the mod team, and this person had even to that date testified that they had still been saying slurs up to that time. The mods did acknowledge my messages, and within a 2 week stretch, I was left on red. I was really confused at why something like this would happen, but I know that sometimes if something happens outside of a server, it's usually no concern to moderators inside of it. The idea that if something happens away from your public eye, it isn't an issue. That same mindset is what has led to many atrocities on a larger status, and harassment at a lower one. The racism from the dojo happens both in and out of dojo, and ultimately the failure to deal with it is poisoning the well of the community. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. Firstly, I do want to say that I don't believe that this is a drama situation. I don't like using that word in conversations like this because I believe it boils things down to being petty or insignificant. A drama would be, oh, I said I was going to wear red today, you're wearing red. Not me having to debate my right to exist along people or my right to not have derogatory terms thrown at me. I'd like to say that I acknowledge that the dojo is a place with a lot of different culture, but I do think hiding behind difference of culture is a weak excuse to say derogatory terms. My first point is that racism isn't always intention. When people say things, even if the intention isn't to put them down, it doesn't really dampen the impact of those words being said. Like, for example, if I'm friends with somebody and I hit you in the face, it wouldn't really be a proper apology for me to say, I'm sorry for hitting you in the face. I'm just not going to hit you when you're looking at me. You saying the N-word behind my back does not make it any less of a punch to the face. It's still a derogatory term, still used against people that look like me, and it was used for a very long time. We've been dealing with this for over 400 years. Saying any form of the N-word is still racist because of its origin. So, minstrel entertainment, in the States at least, was a form of acting where white people would paint their faces to pretend to be black and pretend that they were black people. They would use slang like we would. They would use our lingo. They'd use what they thought was our lingo. They thought that we had nonsense talk, so they would babble and poke fun at what they interpreted as black people speaking nonsense. When we had our own languages, Tutsinese, which is one of our languages, that's a thing. Not all of us know it because we've been wiped from our heritage. There's ways that we talk to each other. We were rich in culture. There's a background behind it. And that minstrel entertainment was made to poke fun at that. A form of that in modern times is digital blackface. Digital blackface, which is kind of in the name, is usually when people post, whether it be GIFs or images or funny pictures. It might not be you impersonating that black person, but I have noticed as a trend, and this is me subjectively speaking, that people that tend to collect images like that or even have gifts like that ready usually are very quick to also say words in language like that. It's just very much a very common pattern I've seen on Discord, at least, at the very least. Mind you, the extent of racism in the U.S., lynching was a practice in the United States where if they found a black person, maybe not even guilty, they just did not like them, they would hang them from a tree, throw a picnic, invite some friends. They would take pictures on postcards and make those people bound to be hanged smile. and they would send that to their family and friends because they thought it was funny. Nigga and nigger are not words that are found in other languages. There's negro, which is, Spanish, and there's other words in various languages, but the nigga specifically is an American made word. It's an English based word. That language does not exist in other languages. It's very deceptive, I'd say, to imply that I didn't know I just heard other people around me say it. It is a word that's specific to the English language. If you learn that word, you are bound to find out some sort of meaning behind it. I also don't want to demonize people who genuinely don't know the meaning behind these words, because I am understanding that there is still a cultural difference between people, and there's different nuances to the information that people learn because of exposure, because of friends, stuff like that. This is more specific to the dojo. Dismissing black people that speak up about these issues causes erasure, and it causes these issues to kind of fester more than anything. When you see situations of people popping off and talking about people being racist or saying harmful things to black people, it's not the move to, you guys are being too serious. This is drama. This is dramatic. Nobody wants to talk about this right now. This doesn't affect me, so I don't care. That mindset leads to people getting hurt in other spaces outside of dojo, because as we've said before, it doesn't apply to dojo, so they're not going to moderate. I've seen many times, I'd say in Dojo General, where situations get brought up, and I'm specifically noting April Fools because this is kind of the day that kicked everything off for me, even though I had already been planning to make this video, where people were talking about a situation that happened, and we were trying to be constructive and really get to the root of it, because these tough conversations especially do have to be had, and ultimately we can't deal with these things if we don't talk about them. But yet you saw many people trying to poke fun and make jokes and try to distract from the issue at hand, and if we don't talk about them, then we can't fix them. Ultimately, being quiet about it is what lets people go behind the scenes and continue to perpetuate this behavior, because everybody's scared to say something. We have to be able to have these hard conversations. And I know that there's a lot of kids that are present in dojo, and I know that's difficult for that too. But it's important that we set an example for everybody, because ultimately these are still people that are going to go interact with other communities and, frankly, society, as I would say it. And I would note this too. A lot of people come online and they have the privilege of being anonymous. And I do think that we forget that a lot of people hide behind this when they do these things. A lot of people hide behind the fact that you won't be able to confirm information about them. They'll hide behind the fact that you'll never know who I am, so I can get away with anything. And we should not let people do that. You'll have the worst of the worst people saying things on 4chan that would never say that to a person in real life, but maybe that person in real life uses 4chan too, which, that's a crazy example. But other people are still having to see this and put up with this. While it might not be relevant to you, we're still seeing this, and it still hurts to read as people continue to use this word against us. And we don't care about this right now. We don't care. I would also note that in America, at least, or in mostly European places, there is a dynamic of social hierarchy that does have to do with race, and I must bring this up because there's a theory. If I remember it, I will link it in the description. There's a social hierarchy that we seem to have in America, and it has happened as a systematic issue, but it presents itself in different situations in different ways. In America, there's a social hierarchy that is existent just because of general suppression in America. If you look back at history, you can see at what times who was prioritized where and vice versa. And as a result of our history, that does exist in a lot of situations we deal with. When you look at it, it's split into sex. So you have men and women. Usually men have the higher part on the hierarchy than women. But then when you add race, it becomes white men, white women, black men, black women. And that's not including people that have proximity to whiteness who get put above that black men category. So then you have this weird scale where those voices will get heard more, and anything below that is just a dismissal. So when we're saying these things, or we're calling out, or we're seeming frustrated or angry all the time, it's because we're tired of being dismissed. It's not us trying to cancel people or be mad at people or be an angry black man or black woman. That's not what this is. It's us trying to make sure that everybody's taken care of at the end of the day. And we can spot these things because we've had to live with the socioeconomic results of that for years, honestly. We've seen our grandmas and grandparents deal with these things and pass it on to our moms and our dads and vice versa and so on. I would say this, and I can use my experience with this. Intersectionality, especially in being an advocate for people, you do have to understand that intersectionality involves everyone, which includes people of color, especially black people, because we get swept under the rug a lot. I've noticed, at least in Dojo recently, there was a message that was sent out due to the shuriken situation where they acknowledged that LGBTQ people in the community are recognized and they're willing to step up to try to moderate and be more strict about the things that people say about queer people. But I noticed that a lot of times black people get left out of the conversation, and when we say something about it, there's a bit of pushback or a hesitancy to deal with it or talk about it, really. And while y'all probably are tired of hearing it at this point, we notice it, and it does affect the way that we interact with people. I don't want to look down on, people like Hyun and all the mods and the stuff that they do, but it's kind of hard to not do that considering every time these issues get brought up, you guys are being too tense or people getting ghosted. That's happened to multiple people. I've had people come to me talking about different situations they've had casually, almost all the time. Hey, did you hear about this one person that said the N-word in a call? Did you hear about this person who's saying the N-word in this chat? Did you hear about, and there's all these different situations that pop. I had a kid come in a call one time and ask me to say the N-word because he thought it would be funny. I was working on an animation. I think I was in voice chat 1. Had nothing to do with anything, by the way. Just happened. But things like this happen on a day-to-day basis and it doesn't get talked about. So it becomes question of if it's easier to not talk about it or people just don't care about it. Which that's not, nobody wants to say that, but it's what it feels like when you're on the opposite side of the situation. You know what I mean? And I also have to say this too, because I know the Dojo has a distinct issue with this. There is a little bit of a hierarchy. No, not a little bit. Actually, I take it back. There's a hierarchy problem within Dojo as well. This doesn't come from just the social dynamics and race and all that stuff. This does also come from bigger animators getting more priority in situations or being dealt with more delicately because they don't want to ruin their social image. And I've noticed that a lot with people. People make jokes about this. You've probably seen tweets about it where people say, oh, so-and-so works for Alan Becker. They won't get dealt with as harsh. And to an extent, it does feel like that. I don't know what happens behind the scenes with the mods. It's probably very different. But those situations, again, get dealt with more care than the everyday things. And I don't feel like that just because somebody is bigger, we should give them more grace for their mistakes. I think that everybody should be treated equally in these situations. And you might be friends with somebody. Actually, I have to pause my point just to say this. You might be friends with somebody, but you should still be able to hold them accountable for the things that they say and they do. And that goes for everyone. Even if I hop in Dojo and start saying slurs, you should hold me accountable for that. Same with any of the top animators. I'm not going to say any names right now, but with any of the people that are the most popular, even Hyun. That should just go for everyone. Everybody should be held to the same standard with what behavior we tolerate and what behavior we decide to let go on in our community. And I think that we should let that be talked about because it happens all the time. And I do have to say, I have noticed this. And I know the mods have said this, their team is small. I get this. I do think it does come down to a point where you guys need to start probably hiring more moderators. I don't know what bars they have to go through if you interview them, if it's like a baby mod and then you get upgraded to an actual mod. I don't know how it works, but I would really recommend that you guys open up moderator positions because Jesus Christ, if this is all happening because you don't have enough mods, we can tell. You should probably get some more mods. That's probably the best way to deal with this. But I think also letting people slip between the cracks because you think that something's a misdemeanor or just a joke is not okay, ultimately. If somebody, again, my example earlier, if I were to punch you, it would be a problem, even if I said it was a joke. And ultimately, if I'm prone to doing that again, we should deal with the problem now instead of waiting till later. for it to become bigger, or oh my god, she killed someone. You'd want to deal with it early on, I believe. And dismissing behavior because it's not something that you have had to deal with personally, I think is an apathy problem, and that is a personal thing that some people are going to have to get worked out. I am aware that a lot of people in dojo, there's again young and old, so there's a big age difference, and I'm aware that at the time that some of the older members of the dojo were on the internet, it was very different than the time that we existed now. People are more prone to getting canceled. I'm aware of this. There's people are quicker to, you know, just nuke people off the face of the earth for their mistakes, and I do get that, but ultimately we have to change as people. We have to move forward to progress. Like, we do still need to make sure we prioritize people being taken care of, because being too woke is still someone trying to make sure that everyone's taken care of. The house has to be clean, you know? And this is my call to action for people, I think. And I'm gonna probably, in the video, I'm probably gonna put a lot of screenshots in the video. But my call to action is that we as a community be more mindful of the things in the language that we let slide. Ultimately, in my opinion, I think we should not be allowing anyone to use the N-word in the dojo if we're that understaffed. But also, I'm gonna nitpick this. I know in dojo rules they make note of not witch hunting. The definition of witch hunting is generally taking multiple people to kind of go harass one person. That's the nature of witch hunting. Witch hunting was multiple people coming together, multiple men coming together to burn women at the cross. So, witch hunting, that's what that is. Going and talking to one person in particular in private and trying to de-escalate something behind the scenes, or even mentioning names, is not witch hunting. That's making someone take accountability for their actions. And if it's justifiable, saying slurs, that should not be punished, I feel like. Now, if it was a situation of, somebody getting harassed in their DMs, that's definitely an issue. But I do think that there's an accountability issue being had that's leading to this misdefinition of witch hunt. Sorry, call to action though. My call to action is that ultimately we all try to be more mindful of the language that we use, especially towards other marginalized groups. I can understand there's some weird social dynamics at play. People are socialized differently. People have come from some bad friend groups where they were taught different things were okay. I understand that. I see you. And you can make the move. You can find a way to move forward and actively try to advocate for people around you instead of becoming part of the problem in a passive way. Being passive will only further hurt people. So ultimately, all that to say, I do like dojo, or at least I have liked dojo in the past. And I think that it has done a lot of good things for me. I've made a lot of good connections. I've wanted to make a show of my own because of dojo. That was something that a lot of people were driving me to do. And I should mention, you can see I'm in a dorm. I'm going to college for animation because of dojo. I did not want to do that before I was in that community, but some things just have to change, because until it's a safe space for everyone, I don't think you're going to see. I personally think that it's not a safe space, unfortunately. I don't want to say it like that, but it's just not a safe space for everyone. And hopefully we can all kind of not move past it, because I think that's the dismissal thing I was talking about, but we can make an effort to consciously try to make the dojo a better place. If you've made it to the end, thank you for watching. Please look in the links in the description. I'm probably going to provide some of the screenshots that are noted in this video compiled together. I know some people in the dojo were also working on a doc, so that will be linked. A paper that I wrote, I said it earlier, about some of the history in the US of modern racism and how that affects people in a modern day society. I don't make videos like this often. I don't know if I will again. If this does well as a video essay, I might yap to you guys again. But thank you, and yeah, have a good day. Hello everyone, this is Post Video Angel. I'm letting you guys know that they are rolling out new rules for the whole race and word situation. I'm still going to release this video mostly as a informational entity of sorts for anybody who is in dojo and is kind of caught up with what's been happening. um I haven't been in there for a while, but I've been hearing a lot of stuff from people that do happen to be there, so I just thought it was very important to make. And I also do want to make sure that I talk for and speak for my community, because there's not a lot of black people that make videos of this kind or even talk about this issue as much publicly. So all that to say, thank you guys for watching. If you do like stuff like this, or if you do like videos like that, comment, let me know. Also, please subscribe. I do have goals. I'm very ambitious. I do want to grow this channel eventually because I do have things planned. And I appreciate you stopping by to see this. Thank you. I'll see you guys later.